would you please welcome Their Majesties King and Queen Richard and Emily of Terra Libra.
And we'd like to introduce Queen Deborah and King Jason of Christabel.
Thank you. We are so excited to have our first official time here with our 2015 Heroic Youth, and especially with Crown Princess Anne-Marie and Royal Master Knight Daniel.
So let's give them a great cheer. You guys can have a seat and relax for a minute. This year, we have lots of big changes happening in Heroic Youth. And I think you guys have already kind of been, got some teasers about those, right? We are changing venues for both of our summits, which is a big change, isn't it? I mean, how many of you have participated in multiple summits at Canyon Rim Park? Right. So that's kind of felt like our home for a long time. And the thing about homes is that eventually, if your family keeps growing and growing and growing, then your home stays the same size. Eventually you need a new home, right? So we have the exciting opportunity this year to find new homes for both of our summits. One of the coolest things about them is that they are separate, and as we have two separate kingdoms, it works out really well. So Christabel will be in a different place than Terra Libra, and I think we're going to really start to feel the flavor of those individual summits coming out even more. So we are going to show you some pictures, and we're going to first have Queen Deborah tell you a little bit about the home for Handmaidens.
All right, Handmaidens of Virtue Summit will be held at North Canyon Park in Bountiful. So it is about 15 minutes north of Canyon Rim. I know that's a challenge for those of you coming south, but it'll even out in the end when Emily talks to you. So it's a beautiful park. It has an even bigger pavilion and surrounding area so that we could have a feast and a ball. We're really struggling to figure out what we're going to do. We may not have even been able to have a feast or ball this year if we didn't switch locations, and so we were very blessed to find a new location. Doing so also meant that we had to cut it back down to one day again. That's what they had available. So we had planned to do 2 days this year, and now we're back to one, but I think that it's going to be better this way. Trying to change too much at once, that can be a big challenge. So, that's what we have with Canyon. No, North Canyon. North Canyon. When you go there, I want you to close your eyes and picture Summit, because that's the new home. And so we want it to feel like home. It did to me when I first walked there, or walked up to the park and just looked around. It really just felt like home. That's the North Canyon Park. This is the amphitheater, and it is roughly the same size that Canyon Rim had. But the nice thing is that it's got grass in between, and there's a lot of trees, so we should be able to get a lot of shade, and the grass to cool you down, so that's really nice. And this was back, I don't know, this was back on the side. We have a nice path. There's like a really neat trail that winds around, and there's beautiful trees, and has these little nooks and crannies, perfect for us to have some little events happen, some cool things happen. And the big field, this is, now it doesn't look very big, but this is the main pavilion. And all the way around it, it has a nice big area, cement area that gives us a lot of space for dancing. And the best part is that the tables all move. That makes me really happy. If it rains, we can move the tables out and all get under the pavilion. There's a lot of there's several little pavilions like this. Up in Little Hop. It's nice because it's hilly, it has a lot of character, it has the mountains all in the background still, so there's a lot of things that are really similar, but make it, I think, even a little bit better for us.
And then with Night Summit, we have a little bit bigger challenge because last year at the end of our summit, when we had our families there visiting and our battle and everything, we don't have an exact number, but we're estimating that we were at about 1,200 people. So with that number, it's a big challenge to find a new place. And I just want you guys to understand that at our first battle for Summit, for Night Summit, there were 30 to 35 boys and 7 villains. 7. Just to give you an idea of how far we've come in the past 10 years. Or 11 now. So we needed to find a place that was a little bit bigger, but even more than that, we have to find a place that will permit our group. So it's all now about the wonderful thing called permits. So with that in mind, we are at a 90% sure that we have found our new home. Until that 10%, last 10% is completed, and we have all the papers signed and all the I's dotted and T's crossed, we will not be able to officially open for youth leader applications. But as you can see, we're proceeding anyway. We have great faith that things will work out exactly the way that they're supposed to. And so, you know, please feel free to add your prayers to ours, that all will happen well. But with that in mind, I'm excited to tell you where we're pretty sure our new home is. How are we coming on pictures? Are we having any luck? Okay, another minute. So, I don't know how many of you have ever been to the American Fork Amphitheater, which is directly across the street from the Mount Timpanogos Temple. Has anybody been there? Okay. So for those of you who have not been there, this is an amazing place. It is not officially a park. It's not a city park. It does not have a playground or a big pavilion. But since we're too big to fit in a pavilion, and we're hoping that the Knights aren't spending their time on a playground, those things are not a negative for us. What it does have is a gigantic, gorgeous stone amphitheater that really looks like a castle, including kind of almost like parapets off to the side.
This is actually going to, well, I know, these I just pulled them offline. This is going to be the area where we have our battle. There will be a battle in the trees. You can see that there's some walk-out side stages that are raised up and they actually look like parapets. Okay, next one. This is a view from one of the big fields up toward the amphitheater. So there's actually a large amphitheater and the stage, and then there's like a separate space below it, and then more stairs that go down to the field. It's really, really beautiful. So this just gives you an idea of how big that is. I think that the estimated capacity is 1,200. For this amphitheater, which means we're at Canyon Rim, we filled the amphitheater at the end, plus spilled out like basically into the parking lot and the bathrooms. We will actually all fit in.
And you can see the parapet.
Yeah, you can see the parapets there.
And that's an entire symphony on the stage.
It's a huge stage. Okay, next one.
Orchestra.
This is just another view of that lower field. This is like, it'll probably we'll do like training, battle training and tournaments and things like that.
There's a lot of little nooks and crannies and trails and things like that. And there's bunnies. We saw bunnies. So all you girls.
Don't kill bunnies.
Don't kill them.
Bring them to our
Okay. So one of the great things about having these new places for us to be is we get this opportunity to kind of, I don't know if the wording I want to think of is course correct. We get to the chance to make sure that our summits are exactly what we want. That we're not doing them just because that's the way we've always done them, because we've always had it here, we've always done it this way. We get to fine-tune and make it exactly the way it should be. So if you see little changes, I don't think there'll be dramatic changes happening to the structures, but if you see little changes here and there, that's why. We're just making sure that it's exactly right for where we are right now. But we are so excited.